And we are back on the build phase. I'm Mr. Ben, and today we are going to be talking about a game I kickstarted what feels like forever ago, and like a lot of Kickstarters this year, this game ran into some shipping issues, and that game is Legacy's Allure. Now, I'm really excited about this one for a handful of different reasons. As anybody who's a fan of the show knows, I am a huge fan of card games. Card games are kind of my core, and while I do branch out into other types of board games and I play some video games, my core love is card games. But that's not how I got my start. I got my start playing chess. That was the first game that I really got into. And what Legacy's Allure does is it kind of takes the card game core and lets you play it kind of like chess. So it's almost similar to a miniatures based skirmish game in that you have all your cards, your forces are at their strongest at the beginning of the game, and you whittle the other player down and they whittle you down. Unlike a lot of card games where you start off at your weakest and you have to build things up based on stuff that you draw out of your deck. So this is a really cool entry into the card game space. I don't think there's enough card games that take advantage of actually having where the card is positioned on the table meaning something. So I'm really excited for this one. I've been pumped for this one for a while, and we're gonna dig right in. Oh man, I don't think I even need my knife. Okay. So this was a pledge at the Ultraknight level, and that means we got all kinds of goodies. So let's get all this stuff out, and then we'll see what we're dealing with. Okay. Oh, I'm going to leave that for last. All right, so each one of these boxes is a pre-constructed kingdom. And what a kingdom is basically your deck. Uh, this is a faction pack. So we've got a couple of different things here. We've got faction packs, which give you other cards of the various colors to build out with the pre-con decks or completely do different ones. These are these bigger decks. And then we have the pre-constructed kingdoms, the pre-constructed decks. And we have 4 of those, as well as another faction pack that's items. Then we have this big old box. So let's get it out of the shrink wrap first of all. Way less glare once it's not in the shrink wrap. Okay, so this is our core Legacies Alert box, a customizable card-based war game with no randomness. Imagine chess, but with richer themes and mechanics. Kind of like I said, I guess I could have just read this instead of describing it. Uh, Imagine the fantasy wargaming experience condensed into under an hour while still maintaining the deep strategy and huge replayability. So I think what this is going to be is essentially kind of the same thing as the demo kit I talked about. Was that earlier this year? It might have been at the tail end of last year uh, for this game. So this is going to be 2, like our core stuff that we need. So we're going to have our rule book, our playmat, the dice that are necessary. So we have different effects that are tracked using dice as well as various abilities that get, like statuses that can be put on the characters. Desiccant pack. Gotta be sure to not eat that. And 2 pre-constructed decks. So we're going to end up with a total of 6 pre-constructed decks that we're going to look at. My guess is that everything's going to fit back in this box, but we'll see. I don't know. Uh, so let's set all that stuff aside for a moment. I want to take a look at the guide. So we have a whole book here that just talks about the lore of the game. This is going to be detailed information on this is the Erengard faction, so that's the blue team, and then Tristan is the character that I probably played the most out of these, the blue team commander that came in the demo kit that Whitman and I have played a bunch with. Aurelia, Gath is another. Then wait, did we miss one here? Because Aurelia's, or is she also blue? So she must be part of the blue faction as well. Gath is the red faction. That's going to be your aggressive stuff. Uh, the Orc Samurai is something I'm very excited to mess around with. Sylvan, so this is like your green stuff. Uh, you've got your elf, your nature elf kind of trope, and your hunter or ranger type character. The art for the game is really breathtaking. I will say it's little on the generic side, but it's kind of hard to start a lore from scratch, especially when you're also building a game to go with it. And everything looks great. So I'm going to thumb through the getting started guide here real quick. My guess is that this is going to walk you through a game that you would play with the two precon kingdoms, the two precon decks. Yeah, so this is breaking everything down in terms of you being kind of kickstarted in the game. FFG, Fantasy Flight, does this where they have your actual rule book and then they have a quick start guide. And one thing they do is sometimes important information is in one but not the other. So you don't always know which book to look for a particular rule. I don't know if that's going to be the case here, but I will find out. We're going to look through these rules as well. Okay, so there's a QR code here so you can scan for, I assume, whatever the most updated rules are. That's really good, especially in these types of games. Once this product gets into the community's hands, the likelihood that there's going to be interactions discovered, it's just one of those things that happen. No matter how good your playtesters are, there's always going to be some things that sneak past you. So this has an easy open thing here. Maybe it does, if I can find it. Yeah, right there. So let's dig into this first precon kingdom. So this is Car Thol, the ogre guy. Oh, that looks good. So you've got like an attacker and defender card here. My assumption is that what this is used for is just keeping track. In case there's a combat where multiple effects are being played, you remember who's doing what. Now, one of the things about this game that I want to point out, there is reminder text on the back of all the cards because the game is totally non-random and you actually draft your kingdom out in advance and you place your units at the start of the game. There's no drawing random cards. So the card backs didn't have to be randomized. And because of that, they have rather than putting reminder text on the front of the card, which a lot of TCGs and CCGs do, they're able to put those rules explanations on the back of the card, which gives more real estate for powers, more real estate for just non-reminder text, like non-rule book stuff, which I think is a really cool way to utilize the backside of the card. Man, that Fire Fist Minotaur looks so good. I don't necessarily want to fall into the trap of looking at every single card and just commenting on how cool they look, but they do look really cool, right? Razormane Manicore. Yeah, so these are all pretty familiar because I've played games with most of these cards at this point. Now, these cards are quite a bit nicer than the demo cards that we got, both in terms of cardstock, the finish, the cut on the corners. Like everything about these is a little bit more polished, which you have to expect. I mean, at no point, I think they even told us with the demo kit, hey, this is not a finished product. Just be aware of that. So I want to dig into one of these kingdoms that I haven't looked at before. I shouldn't open Carthol because the next thing I want to go to is the other Gat hero, and that is the Samurai Orc. Like, who doesn't want to see the Samurai Orc, right? Man, both of these I've kind of snagged a little. Okay, so it looks like every precon's going to come with the attacker defender card, and there is our Samurai Orc. Look at that guy. So just let a reminder text of what allied pathing does. Lets you move through your allies. Normally you can't move through stuff. That dragon looks amazing. I wonder, I don't know what this card does, but it looks cool. So this is an Argog card. So it's one of those cards that is going to be in play, modifying your hero in some capacity. This doesn't like enter the field as a unit that your opponent can interact with. It's like I guess a loadout would be a good way to put it for your hero. Oh man, Omni Slash, huh? Again, just a triumph on the art. The Swift Strike looks really good. So this is probably the character I'm most excited to play with. And now we hear these all the characters also in addition to faction cards, you can put in like equipment cards, which are sort of like generics, kind of like artifacts, maybe to put it into magic terms. And this one, the boots give you +1 movement, a healing potion lets you heal up, a shield lets you soak damage. So the equipment cards are a little bit generic, but they play it or they interact with your main character kind of in the same way. No, I can't find it. That the character specific cards do. There's right on top. The character specific cards do, in that it's part of the loadout that goes on your hero. And that all has a gold cost. Gold is like your total points for your kingdom. So if you're going to play like a 300 gold game, or 35 gold, or whatever the gold amount is that you're going to play, that's kind of the amount of units that you can draft in, or that you can spend on units, I guess would be a better way to phrase it. Okay, so that was our samurai ogre pre-constructed deck. So before we get into any other pre-constructed decks, I think I want to take a look at one of these big boxes. So let's start with the item cards. So this is not going to be a booster for a particular faction. This is going to be a booster for every faction. I guess it shows on the back here what all the cards are. So I don't always pay attention when it comes to Kickstarters, what stuff is going to be available at retail, what stuff is Kickstarter exclusive. Uh, Given how this is packaged, and the fact that it's got like the UPCs and all, I'm assuming all of these will be available in your local game store at some point. So it looks like some of these we've seen within. So I don't know how many unique equipment we're going to have within this. I'm sure I'll find out once I go through all these. But all the cards do something that you will attach to your hero. So this gives you a passive that if you skip, you heal, additional movement, additional mana, and so on. So you can use these equipment cards and your loadout in general to plug weaknesses on your hero. Like if you have a hero who moves a little bit slower, has a little bit weaker attack, you could attach cards to him that would give him additional movement, uh, give him additional armor, magic resistance. Like this battle suit, it costs a somewhat significant amount of gold at 6, but it lets you have +1 armor, +1 magic resist, and it gives you health regen. So you could use that to offset a weak hero, or you could put that on a hero who's already a little bit tanky and make them even tankier. Uh, this one only costs 3 gold, but gives you armor 1, which would reduce incoming damage. So again, this is a thing that I really like about the game, in that you can invest your gold in making your hero kind of the star of the show, or you can invest your gold in having a huge variety of characters out on the board, a bunch of different units. Or probably the correct answer is to do a mixture of both. But of course, I'm the kind of player I like to live in extremes. So that is, oh wow, that wizard gear looks cool. All right, so that was our generic item pack. Let's look at let's look at the game board. That cellophane sounds awesome. So I'm not going to be able to do this justice on the camera. This game board is actually quite large, and I can't even move far enough back. So it doesn't have a lot of character as far as the terrain itself. There's a little bit of, rolling hills, like there's a little bit of theming to it, but there isn't. And of course, there'll be a shield in this center yellow square here. One side starts behind the blue line over here. The other side starts behind the blue line over here. Uh, Overall, I think in future expansions, something that they will probably expand upon is having interactable terrain, doing different types of terrains that interacts with the units. I guess while we're here, let's pull out some of these dice and take just a little bit closer look. Now, in the demo kit, we just kind of got generic D6s, and we had to kind of imagine. These have actual, like, magic resistance, battle fury, so they +1. So they have art as well as text on them to let you know what these different effects are. These look fine. Probably my guess is player takes one set, the other player takes the other set. So you each have two of these effect dice. The rest of these, as far as like tracking hit points and damage and stuff, they're just generic D6s. Okay, let's look at some green cards. So let's open another faction pack here. I don't know if it comes across on the camera, but there's like a really nice matte finish to these boxes that I like a great deal. So within the faction pack, we have another champion here, as well as stuff that can be equipped to, I guess this is for Calidrix. That must be the guy that comes in the other one. This dude. Oh, a bunch of stuff for that guy. So the green faction is one that I have not spent a lot of time playing with. The demo kit that we got was, oh, and there's another copy of Calidrix there too. So wait, is this a different Calidrix than we get in the precon? Or does this just give us the ability to play mirror matches? Oh, so the text is in green to match the faction. That's cool. Where is the Calidrix? So three, three, yeah. So it looks like these are the same. So okay, cool. So by getting both the faction pack and all the pre-constructed decks, I'm gonna have the ability to essentially do mirror matches. I guess since we've got this out here, we'll kind of glance through it. So as I see more of the equipment, I realize a lot of the equipment in the item pack is kind of duplicates, which will probably be like, oh, we don't have enough of this one, and we have too many of that one. That's generally the way these things go. Oh, a taunting satyr. Look at the art on Mr. Tumnus. I like that a great deal. All right, so that was the Calidrix Precon. Let's go back to this. So some custom cards for Anwen. So probably what I'm going to need to do, um, rather than necessarily go through every single card here at the unboxing, is sit down and break down each of these factions and go through each of the cards one at a time within each faction. So I think we may, once we get to the end of this, it may be time for the fun stuff. Ooh, look at that Witch Hunter. That reminds me of Vampire Hunter D. So all this stuff feels very on theme for what you would expect from the Forest faction. You've got your bears, you've got that green magic, you've got hippogriffs, you've got birds. Um, so it definitely you kind of look at this, and if you have background knowledge in high fantasy type iconography, you're gonna catch on to all this. Let's open another precon before we go any further. Let's check out this angel. So this is Aurelia. She's part of the Erengard faction, which is the blue cards. Kind of like the tanky tough guy. At least that's how Tristan plays. So we got this blue. Now this Adept Tempest Mage, this was a card in the demo kit that I'm a big fan of. We got angels. Look at how cool she looks. Wow. I confess, Angels and Demons. When I first got into Magic, Angels and Demons was like the first deck I built. I was a very gothy teenager. So we got our Battering Ram, Catapult, the Dawnbringer Paladin with this gigantic hammer. Very cool stuff. Oh, so I guess if we were going to put this in a World of Warcraft terms, this would be the Alliance. Is that what they call them? Yeah, it's the Alliance versus the Horde. I think this is the Alliance team. I can just imagine. I shouldn't have gone to World of Warcraft. I only know Hearthstone, so I don't actually know any of the details of WoW that well. Okay, I think it's time. I'm so excited for these. So this, I think, is Kickstarter exclusive stuff, and it's metal champion cards. And I don't think at the time of the Kickstarter they had announced this yet. Oh man, it's like embossed too. Can you? I don't know if the camera can even do that justice, but his swords are actually. Oh man, they're like textured. Ah, can you see? Uh, before I interrupted myself with how freaking cool this card is, look at how thick that is. Uh, at some point after the Kickstarter closed, it was revealed that each of the metal cards was going to be serialized. So I have number 29 of 100 full metal shiny samurai orcs. So silly. And this one's number 32. Oh, interesting. I was wondering if they were all going to be the same number, and apparently they are not. So I have number 32 of Carthol. Wow. You can kind of see where the texture lines are, but it really doesn't do it justice. This looks truly amazing. Listen to that sound. All right, so then we've got number 87 of what was this guy's name? Caladrix, I think. Yeah, that's Caladrix. So it's got like a nice matte finish kind of on the back, and then this sparkly. This really reminds me of the kind of foil embossing they did on like Marvel Masterpiece cards in the 90s when I was a kid. I really love this a lot. So we've got number 24 of Tristan, looking good. This is probably the hero I'm like the least excited about because I played him the most. I want to play other people. We've got number 8. Oh, that's a low number. Number 8 for Anwin. Looking good. Man, the detail on the forest. The fact they were able to print this much detail on a metal card is truly breathtaking. And finally, Aurelia is number 65. Wow. So probably the crown jewel of the Kickstarter has got to be these genuinely amazing metal cards. The fact they've got that raised edge on them does make me a little worried that they're gonna like scratch each other, so I'll probably have to throw these in like a penny sleeve anytime I'm not physically playing with them. But you better believe I'm gonna get this out and play with this card unsleeved once we get these. That sounds so cool once we get these to the board. So we do have a couple more faction packs here, a few more precons that we haven't opened. And at some point soon, particularly once I have a chance to play with the green faction, which is the faction I haven't spent really any time with, I want to come back and do kind of a breakdown of what works, what doesn't work, what my favorite cards are, uh, cards that trapped me by tricking me into thinking they were good, all that good stuff. The most fun I have with these kinds of games is the analysis. The unboxing is great, but like the best part is sinking my teeth into them. So comparatively, oh, it's even bigger. I didn't realize the metal cards. I think the metal cards are just slightly bigger. I wonder if it'll fit in the sleeve. So by going through the precons, there are several cards that we see again here. Now, the cool thing with this game is there isn't a limit on like four of a kind in a deck like there is in a lot of other card games. You can have a whole deck that consists of just one character over and over again. Now, of course, you'd have to buy so many cards. Like if you wanted to have a team of all elite longbow archers and you only get what two here, two in each of the precons, you'd have to buy a lot to be able to get 100 gold worth of 6 gold characters. But that is something you definitely could do, and I'm pretty sure those kinds of games exist out there on YouTube with people playing in Tabletop Simulator. I'll leave a link to the official YouTube channel below. They do commentary matches, and if you're looking to get into the game, watching people who know what they're doing play it, while people who also know what they're doing talk about it, is a great way to kind of ease yourself in and start to understand some of the more advanced concepts after you get past just the general, like, how to play video. So that was our Arngard faction pack. I guess let's go through the Gath one. Yeah, I'm trying to get out of this without unboxing everything. All right. Might as well do it all now. Samurai, Orc Samurai continues to look amazing. I will say I think the red team got some of the coolest looking cards. I mean, there's good cards on all factions. And while I have kind of criticized the game here and there for the kind of almost genericness of the fantasy theming, one thing they did really well is define their factions. Each faction has a distinctive look. That look is supported by the art. Each faction has a distinctive theme. Those themes are supported by the mechanics within each faction. So each group has a real clear identity. And while things like orcs and goblins might not be the most original IP, fitting within a high fantasy setting, I think the kind of people who are going to want to play a card based slash miniatures type skirmish game, this is theming that's really going to hit a lot of us in the sweet spot. I do love all of this. I guess I say some of it's generic, and I've been gushing about the Orc Samurai over and over again. So there is some stuff that stands out. I got to be fair. Wow, I don't think I've seen this guy before. The Spike Collar Hound. Look at how cool he looks. All right, so that was our Gath supplemental pack. This is our Anwin Precon deck. So the thing I do like about having the Precon decks is it's not as much fun as deck building is. It's kind of nice to get a new game and be able to just go, okay, I'm just going to play with these cards and kind of go. And while there is the how much gold you're spending element to this, knowing that you've got this group of cards and it kind of limits your focus compared to the total card pool, and it definitely helps kind of ease you in. Whereas I've certainly played other games where it's just a big box of cards, versus comes to mind, and it's like, well, what do I do with these? Like, how do I get started? All right, so we'll open our last precon deck here. This is Tristan. I guess it's fitting that we ended up on this guy. So a lot of these cards, now these are Tristan specific powers that let you, again, kit out your champion to do different things so that he can play a specific way that you want to play. I really like that tactician card too. I'm always a sucker for support classes. In D&D I play Bard, you know what I'm saying? And then watch my party die while I can't do anything to help. Okay, so that is all our precon decks. That's the main box. That's these very special metal cards. I, I said it before I even opened everything up. I was excited to finally get my hands on the full complete version of this game. Yes, it's been available on Tabletop Simulator and continues to be available on Tabletop Simulator, but it's just not the same. Playing with digital whatever is just not the same as being able to get your hands on the cards and lay them out on the table and really feel what you're doing. And this is the way I prefer to enjoy my board games predominantly. Not opposed to video games, but this is the good stuff. So I will report back later after I have a chance, particularly to dive into the Sylvan faction, which I don't have much experience with, and I want to do breakdowns for each of the six champions as well as kind of overviews for each of the factions as I finally get to really digest this game. All right. Overall, very positive with the packaging, the presentation, and these metal cards did not disappoint. So, till next time. go win some games.